Here's the order you were probably taught. People settle down, people start farming. Farming creates surplus, surplus creates cities, and only once you have cities do you get around to building temples. Agriculture first, religion later. It's a tidy story. It's also, as far as we can tell, backwards. And the place that flipped it is a hill in southeastern Turkey that, for 30 years, archaeologists walked right past. In 1963, a joint survey from Istanbul University and the University of Chicago actually logged this hill. They noted the broken limestone slabs poking out of the ground and wrote them off as Byzantine-era grave markers, not worth a closer look. It sat like that, misfiled, for another 31 years. Then in 1994, a German archaeologist named Klaus Schmidt visited the site and looked at the same slabs everyone else had looked at and recognized them for what they actually were, the tops of T-shaped megalithic pillars. He started digging in 1995 as a joint project with the Schannlufer Museum and the German Archaeological Institute, and what came out of the ground did not fit any accepted timeline. Göbekli Tepe dates to around 9,500 BCE. That's roughly 11,500 years old, about 6,000 years older than Stonehenge. Older than pottery anywhere in the region. Older than metal tools, older than the wheel, and older, as far as the evidence shows, than agriculture itself. What's been uncovered so far is 4 large circular stone enclosures, 30 to 100 feet across, each one ringed with T-shaped pillars and anchored by 2 much larger pillars standing free in the center. But here's the thing. Ground-penetrating surveys say there are at least 20 more of these enclosures still buried under the hill. After 30 years of digging, archaeologists estimate they've uncovered maybe 10% of the site. 90% of Göbekli Tepe is still underground, unexamined. And whoever built this did it with nothing but stone tools. Flint blades, scrapers, the occasional obsidian blade traded in from volcanic sources hundreds of miles away. No metal anywhere on site, no pottery. The people who quarried, carved, moved, and raised pillars weighing many tons apiece were, by every marker archaeologists usually use, hunter-gatherers, people who hadn't yet settled into farming villages. And they didn't just carve these plain. Every pillar here is a canvas. Foxes, wild boar, cranes, snakes, scorpions, lions, vultures, carved in relief, and almost always male, almost always wild and predatory rather than domestic. The single most famous is Pillar 43 in Enclosure D, what researchers call the vulture stone. A huge vulture with its wings spread, a headless human figure, a scorpion, and a disc that some have tried to read as the sun, or something else entirely. Nobody agrees on what any of it means. There's no writing here to explain it, just the carvings, and 11,000 years of silence. Even the basic question of how they built it is contested. Klaus Schmidt's original picture was dramatic. Hundreds of people, from bands scattered across the region, converging seasonally for a shared building project, then scattering again once the work was done. But more recent engineering estimates argue you might only need 7 to 14 people, using rope, sledges, and water as a lubricant to move one of these pillars into place. That's not a small disagreement. It's the difference between this required a coordinated regional gathering and a single extended family could have done this. Nobody's settled it. Around the same time this culture was raising these pillars, Someone carved this, a nearly 6-foot sandstone figure known as Urfa Man, its eyes inlaid with obsidian, dated to roughly 9000 BCE. It's the oldest known life-sized human sculpture on Earth. And it wasn't alone. Related sites nearby have produced other statues of men, hands wrapped around their own bodies, that suggest fertility was a live theme for whoever these people were. We'll come back to that. In 2017, excavators found something that still doesn't have a clean explanation. 3 human skull fragments, each with deep, deliberate grooves cut into the bone after death, carved with stone tools, one of them with a hole drilled clean through the top. Nothing like it has been documented anywhere else in the world. Cut marks on the skulls and on neck vertebrae found nearby point to defleshing and decapitation. Researchers call it evidence of a skull cult, but whether these were venerated ancestors put on display out of respect or the heads of defeated enemies kept as trophies is a genuinely open question. The bone doesn't say which. For years, the popular version of this story included one more dramatic beat: that the builders themselves deliberately buried their own temple, filling in the enclosures on purpose as some kind of closing ritual. It's a great story. It's also, according to more recent work, probably wrong. Since Klaus Schmidt's death in 2014, that interpretation has fallen out of favor. The leading explanation now is a lot less mystical. Natural hillside erosion and landslides did the burying, and the site's excavators have had to terrace the slopes just to stop it from happening again to what they've already dug up. It's a good reminder that even the story of a mystery gets revised as the evidence improves. And Göbekli Tepe isn't even alone. 29 miles east, there's a second site called Karahan Tepe, known since 1997, but barely touched until excavations ramped up after 2019. It's part of the same wider culture, something researchers now call the Tash Tepe, the Stone Hills. A whole network of related sites scattered across this part of Anatolia, and most of them still barely excavated. At Karahan Tepe, the imagery flips almost entirely. Where Göbekli Tepe is dominated by wild animals, Karahan Tepe is dominated by the human body, specifically by fertility. Its most striking structure is a subterranean room carved straight out of the living rock, ringed by 11 monumental carved phalluses. In 2023, excavators there found a 7.5-foot seated statue, gripping its own phallus with both hands, staring out at whoever walked in. Same culture, same rough time period. A completely different symbolic obsession a day's walk away. This isn't a solved mystery slowly closing up. It's a mystery that keeps getting bigger the more they dig. There's a real scholarly fight underneath all of this, too. Was Göbekli Tepe strictly a ritual site, or did people actually live here? Schmidt's excavations never turned up hearths, storage pits, or anything that looked like a normal living floor, which is a big part of why he called it a temple, not a village. But more recent digging at related Tash Tepe sites has turned up domestic-looking structures, heavy-duty grain processing tools, even water infrastructure. Evidence that pushes some researchers toward a messier picture, where ritual and everyday life weren't as separate as the pure temple story suggests. That debate is still live. Now, if you've spent any time in this corner of the internet, you've probably already heard a much bigger claim about this place. That the carvings on Pillar 43 actually encode the date of a comet strike thousands of years earlier. Proof of a lost, advanced civilization erased from history. It's a popular theory. It's also one the archaeologists who actually excavate this site and the wider field have looked at and rejected. That doesn't mean everything about Göbekli Tepe is settled. You've just heard, in the last 10 minutes, several genuinely unresolved questions, straight from the people digging it up. But there's a difference between archaeologists are still arguing about labor organization and site function, and there was a lost global civilization. Only one of those is an active academic debate. Here's one detail that didn't need any embellishment to be strange on its own. Wild einkorn wheat, genetically about as close as anything gets to the ancestor of the first domesticated wheat on Earth, grows natively in the Karahan Mountains, a short distance from here. The likely birthplace of agriculture sits almost next door to a monument built, as far as the evidence shows, by people who weren't farmers yet. The temple came first. The wheat field was right next door the whole time. Göbekli Tepe was named a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2018. Excavation continues today, now led by Turkish prehistorian Necmi Karul, with the German Archaeological Institute still coordinating research. The work Klaus Schmidt started before his death in 2014. And remember, they're still only about 10% of the way through the hill. First came the temple, then the city. That's how Schmidt put it. We still don't fully know who these people were, how they organized themselves to raise stones this size, without agriculture, writing, or metal, or what exactly they thought they were building. 90% of the hill is still down there, waiting. If you want to be here when more of it comes up, subscribe. There's clearly a lot more to this story than we've dug up yet.